You know, it's crazy. About a couple months ago, over the last little while, I've been in a pretty rough state of mind. I've been feeling pretty depressed and pretty low. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of stuff going on in my life, a lot of stuff going on in the world, a lot of heaviness in everything. And I was not being productive. I was not doing anything. I was really not feeling like myself. And it's been kind of tough, you know, to be honest with you. It's been actually really tough. It's been affecting my mental health and my well-being quite substantially. But about 3 weeks ago, I had this interesting realization about how, like, the only difference between the me that I am now and the me that I want to be is acting the way that the person I want to be would act. That's it. It's really, really, really simple. So I've started looking at life a little bit differently again. You know, I'm taking care of myself again, which is making me feel better again, which is making me have more energy, which is making me do more, which is making me feel even better. And I'm on this dramatic upswing, and I've been really paying close attention to things like how I'm eating and how I'm spending my time, and how I'm spending my leisure time, especially, you know, when I don't have anything important that I need to do. What is it that I'm doing to fill that time? And I'm finding ways to feel more fulfilled by doing stuff like that. And it's been really cool because over the last 2-ish weeks, I've actually been feeling way better. You know, I still got stuff weighing me down. I still got some real heaviness in my heart and in my stomach. And I've gained a whole bunch of weight over the last few months, which is not nice. You know, I'm actually back to almost where I was when I started WildFit way back when, 2.5 years ago, weight-wise. But you know what? It's all good. It's part of the learning process. You know, I was talking to a good friend of mine back in September, and I was at an event, and I told him a little bit about how I was feeling, and he said, progress isn't a linear journey. You know, it's not just a climb straight up. You know, you're gonna go up and you're gonna sometimes come down, you're gonna go up, but you've never lost what you learned in the process. And I was really grateful that he said that, because I think about that a lot of times when I start to get a little bit hard on myself about how things have gone over the last couple years. You know, I haven't lived up to the image I set in my mind of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish in my life. And I've still done tremendous things, don't get me wrong. I've built an incredible business. I've managed to go now, I'm in my 4th year without having a regular job. I've got a landscape business that's starting to finally show profit and be a business that can actually support not only me but the people that work for it, which is so cool. Like, I'm so grateful that I've done all that stuff, but it's overshadowed by this idea that there was all this other stuff that I wanted to do that I didn't do yet. And a lot of it was personal stuff. You know, I wanted to be down to my old high school weight. I wanted to be in the best shape of my life. I wanted all this stuff, but between my knee injury and other stuff, I let things get in my way. You know, I let obstacles become obstacles that I really shouldn't have. But that's how it goes, right? That's how you learn, that's how you get better, that's how you improve. There's all kinds of lessons in everything, and that's the really cool thing. But I've been feeling I've been feeling bad lately, because one of the things that I set out to do in my life's work is to talk a lot openly about depression and mental illness and some of the stuff that I've experienced, in hopes that other people can learn from my story and learn to hopefully turn around their own depression and start improving their own lives. And it's a project I started on a couple years ago after I had a real close call with suicide, and it's really important to me. But over the last year or so, I've been really hesitant to work on that project, and I felt really bad about it, because it's so important to me, and it's so important especially now with all the craziness going on in the world and all the people having such a rough time. Like, depression is a bigger issue than it's ever been before, and it's only going to get worse as time goes on, for a little while at least, because things are crazy out there and there's a lot of disruption going on. But I don't want to get on a different rant. What was I talking about? Right. But I was feeling really bad because I wasn't working on this depression project, and I had committed to doing it, and I knew every minute that I'm not working on that, somebody else is dealing with it that maybe they didn't have to. You know, every time I'm not making progress, every month that goes by, somebody else could have been helped. And I was feeling a lot of pressure and a lot of strain, but I kept telling myself, like, you know what? Who are you to be talking about depression when you yourself are incredibly depressed right now? Like, who are you to be telling people how to motivate themselves to get out of bed when 60% of the time you have trouble motivating yourself to get out of bed? And it was holding me back, you know. There was this serious imposter syndrome and this serious, like, I don't know exactly what it was that was holding me up. There was all kinds of things, and so I didn't do it, and I felt so bad about that, and that was making me feel even worse. The fact that I hadn't taken action on this project and I hadn't made any progress. And so it was really quite interesting how I was feeling. But a couple weeks ago I had that moment that I was telling you about, and it's like I realized that if I want to be the version of myself that I was starting to become last year when I was at my peak, and if I want to be that version of myself permanently and better, you know, I know there's even more, because I'm never going to be the best version, because there's always better I could do. But if I want to be the peak version of the person that I can be, there's a lot of shit going on in my life that I got to change. You know, there's a lot of behaviors and actions going on that the kind of person I want to be doesn't do. You know, so I've been starting to look at everything in my life through that lens of, if I'm about to make a decision, whether it's what should I eat, what should I do with this time, what should I do this weekend, who should I go hang out with, should I send this text message? There's all kinds of decisions we make every single day, and when I think about those decisions, the first question I ask myself is this something that the person I'm trying to be would do? You know, it's an important question, and it's a great filter to look at everything in life through, because it forces you to consider those little mundane day-to-day decisions that ultimately make the biggest difference in the long run. You know, it's not the stuff you do for a week or two at a time once in a while that ultimately makes a big difference in your life. It's the stuff you do consistently day in and day out every single day, the little things. So when you start asking yourself, is this something that the person I'm trying to be would do? And if the answer is no, you really think carefully before you make that decision. You start to think about the cost of that decision, as far as like how many days is this going to cost me in my journey to get in shape if I eat this piece of cake, or how many weeks of productivity am I going to lose if I choose to not do this one thing that's going to set my team up for weeks of productivity, or how many potential sales am I going to miss if I don't return this phone call, or all these little things, right? You start to think about that stuff, and it adds up. You know, when you get all these things together, it makes a whole life. And if you want to be a certain kind of person, you gotta start to do the little things the way that the person you're trying to be would do. And I've been doing that for the last about 3 weeks now, and I haven't been even close to perfect, don't even get me wrong. But what I've kind of decided to do is I look at life through that lens now. I look at, is this something that the person I want to be would do? And I think about it real carefully, and sometimes I decide to do it, sometimes I don't. It depends. I allow myself the flexibility, but I'm finding that more often than not, and more frequently all the time, I'm making the right decision. You know, I'm eating way better functional foods. I haven't eaten out in 3 weeks now, which is incredible. I've been on Alka-Geysers every day. Like, my idea of a bad decision now, this week versus 3 weeks ago, is having some fruit and coming out of Wildfit Spring for a day or two. Or versus what it was a few years ago was, should I have 3 or 4 hamburgers at the drive-thru? You know, like I was trying to stuff this emptiness inside of me with food again, and that's another video for a whole other day that I really want to talk about. But now it's like I'm just looking at everything differently. So I want to just encourage you to think about that. Every time you make a decision, no matter what the decision is, where you want to go on vacation, or what you want to do for a job, or where you want to go, like, do you want to spend the weekend camping, or do you want to spend the weekend drinking in the bar, or do you want to spend the weekend hustling and grinding and getting your new online program made? What is it that you want to do? And if you start thinking about that, and you start thinking, wow, okay, is the person that does that, is this something they do? And if the answer is yes, do it. Go hard at it. Do lots of it. If the answer is no, think real carefully and ask yourself, you know, don't not do it. Sometimes you might want to do it. But ask yourself, what's the real cost of this? Not just how am I going to feel immediately when I do this, but what's the real cost long term? You know, what's the cost to my business? What's the cost to my family? What's the cost to my health? What's the cost to my future? What's the cost of all of this stuff? And it's really cool. So anyway, I'm making a lot of these better decisions, and I've been thinking a lot about that project, about helping people, talking about depression and stuff like that. And you know what? I do still feel like an imposter. I don't feel qualified to talk to people about how to deal with their depression, except this one thing. I know what I did to prevent myself from killing myself back in 2017. I know the steps I took. I know the lifestyle I was living, and I know exactly what I was doing that made me feel like the best version of the person that I want to be. So I'm starting to do that again. I'm starting to incorporate that into my life. I'm bringing that back into who I am and how I live and how I show up in the world. And to hold myself accountable, I want to share that with you, because I feel like watching me go through the process of coming out of the depression I was in a few weeks ago, and even now some days still am, if I let you watch the process of coming out that and turning around, getting back in shape and getting my weight back down, getting my health back under control, if I let you watch that, if I let people see that, that's how I'm going to pick up my depression project again. That's how I'm going to spread some light into the world, because you know what? I don't feel qualified to tell you, but I'm sure as hell qualified to try it on myself and let you watch the process, right? So keep tuning into these videos, keep following along with what I'm doing, because I got some big plans, guys, and I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm eliminating the excuses from my life. I'm eliminating the need for perfection. I'm eliminating the need to do it the way anybody tells me I should do it. I'm just coming to you. I'm bringing content. I'm bringing the raw, real Lucas Steves here. This is me, and this is the life I'm living, and this is what I'm doing. So pay attention. It's going to be a wild ride, but you know what? It's going to be a lot of fun. I know I'm going to learn a whole bunch, and if you tune in, you just might learn something too. All right, I can't wait to see you in the next one. Take care.